All right, guys, well, deer season is just a few short months away, and if you're anything like me, you're getting super excited. You're starting to go through your gear, you're shooting your bow, maybe you're out practicing with your tree stand or your saddle. And today, this video is specifically for the saddle hunter and the newer saddle hunter at that. So if you've been mobile hunting for any amount of time, you know that you run into all kind of situations, all kind of different setups. Some of them are a lot more challenging than others, and that's what we're going to be going through today. I'm going to show you how to climb a specific type of tree using your tree saddle. Now, if you've been saddle hunting for a couple years, you've probably already know this information, so you might want to just move on and not waste your time. But if you're newer to saddle hunting, if you're newer to mobile hunting, this video may help you a little bit and show you how to climb these different types of trees. Now, contrary to popular belief, a lot of people will tell you that you can hunt any tree you want with a saddle. Now, that is for the most part true, but there are going to be certain situations where it's not going to be very comfortable, but that's the tree you need to be in. And that's the beauty of the saddle system, is you can hunt all these different types of trees, and they're not always going to be comfortable to hunt out of, and they're not always going to be easy to get into. So that's what I'm going to show you today. So the tree I've got picked out here behind me is a big maple tree that's actually leaning a lot, and it's got a lot of limbs on it. So what I'm going to show you is how to safely climb and how I would set up in a severely leaning tree. Now, first off, when it comes to climbing, safety is #1 priority. You need to be hooked up to the tree with your saddle from the bottom all the way to the top. All right, as you can see, this is a pretty good sized tree, and it's leaning at a pretty good angle. Now, a couple things to consider when you're going to climb a leaning tree is you always want to stay on the top side of the lean. If you're going to climb on the bottom side with gravity pulling you away from the tree, you're going to have a bad time. Now, if you were hunting out of a tree like this in a tree stand, it's the same as a saddle. You're not going to want to sit on the bottom side of this tree. If you're on the bottom side of this tree in a saddle, you're not going to be able to pivot around the tree at all. And the same applies when you hunt on the top side of the lean. Because of gravity, you're not going to want to try to swing down around the tree to get a shot. So I'm going to show you how to shoot using a platform to where you don't have to pivot around the tree at all. Now, when you're climbing a tree like this, you want to stay on the top side of the lean at all times. Like this tree right here, I've got a stick that starts out kind of off to the side at the bottom because of this big split. But after that, I'm going to stay to the top side of this tree. So for time's sake, I've already got 2 sticks installed, and I'm just going to assume that pretty much everybody is climbing with sticks. If you're climbing with another method, it all applies the same. You're going to want to stay on the top side of this tree. Now, let's say I'm in my hunting area. This is the only tree I've got to climb. It's in the right spot. It's where I need to be to kill a deer. So I'll walk up to this tree. I see that it's got some limbs, you know, that I'm going to have to pass on my way up. So I'm going to take my tether out and simply girth hitch it onto my right side of my saddle. My lineman's rope usually lives on my left hip at all times, so it's already there ready to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of pre-adjust it where I think I'm gonna need it, and then I'm just gonna drape this over my neck like this. And then I'm gonna go ahead and get my lineman's belt out. So as you'll see, once I start up the tree, with my lineman's belt, when I come to a limb, I'm going to throw my tether over that limb and use it as a second lineman's belt, so I'm always connected to the tree. So I'm going to get up on this first stick, put my lineman's belt on, and then I'm going to start my climb. All right, so I'm started up the tree. I'm on my lineman's belt. For the sake of this video, I'm not going to go super high in the tree, but the same principle applies if you're climbing all the way up to hunting height with however many sticks you got. Now, if you're climbing with an aider or something like that on a leaning tree, you have to be extremely careful, and I would actually advise against it, because if you're going to have an accident with an aider, it's going to happen on a bad leaning tree like this. So just be conscious of that. If you try it, you know, you're just putting yourself at more risk. Okay, so I've got my last stick set. As you can see, I've got another couple limbs right in front of me. So when I've got 2 limbs like this that are close together, I'm actually going to try to pass over as many as I can with my second lineman's rope before I take this one off. That way I don't pass the first one and then I have to take, you know, in just a couple steps, take the other one off and go around this other limb. So I'm going to go, if you got several that are close together, I'm going to try to go over all of them if I can. All right, so I've got all the weight on my second lineman's belt. It's over top of all these limbs, so then I can go ahead and take off this first one. So now I always just take it and drape it over my neck like this so it's out of the way. All right, so I've made it to the top of my sticks here. So now I'm gonna set my platform. Now the difference here between a straight tree and a leaning tree, normally on a straight tree, I would set the platform off to the side of my sticks at about the same level. Now, with a leaning tree, you're not gonna be pivoting around the tree to take your shots. You're gonna need to stay on the top side of the lean so you don't swing around the tree out of control. So what I'll do is I'll take and put my platform right above my last stick, directly above it. And there's a little bit of a trick to getting onto the platform like this. So I'm gonna go ahead and get it strapped on, and then I'm gonna show you how to get onto the platform safely. Okay, so I just installed my platform on the tree. I'm gonna go ahead and cam it over and make sure that the platform is set to where it'll be level when I'm standing on it. And that's really important to be able to adjust to make sure that that platform is level, because if it's not, you're gonna have a really uncomfortable sit trying to balance yourself on a platform that's leaning too far up. So I'm gonna go ahead and level this, make sure that it's biting into the tree good and that it's solid, and then I'm gonna go ahead and fold it back up. So once I fold it back up, I'm gonna go ahead and take a step up on my last stick here. And then I'm gonna take my second lineman's belt, which is my tether, and I'm gonna take it off of the saddle and install it and connect myself in before I step up onto the platform, just to be safe. All right, so I've got my bridge hooked up, I've got my tether hooked up, and now I can loosen the lineman's belt, and then I can go ahead and step up onto the platform. Now at this point, I'm gonna make final adjustments to my tether. I'm gonna shorten my bridge up a little bit. Now the platform feels really solid. I've got my tether hooked up. It's nice and tight. It's holding most of my weight. Now I can go ahead and take my lineman's belt off. All right, so I'm fully set up in the tree. Everything's nice and secure. And now I'm gonna show you how I would position for different shots when you're in a leaning tree like this, because you're not gonna wanna walk out around the tree too far, because you're gonna feel gravity take over and you're gonna wanna spin around the tree. So where I'm at right now, I feel completely secure. I don't feel like I'm gonna fly around the tree at any point. So that's just the key to hunting a leaning tree like this, is to stay on the top side of it, right in the center of gravity, so you're not gonna wanna spin around the tree out of control. Another thing in a tree like this, I like to run a pretty short tether just to keep everything nice and low and tight. That way, there's just no chance of me getting out of control or too far away from my platform if something bad were to happen. All right, so in a tree like this that's leaning away from you, you're not gonna be able to walk all the way around the tree. So try to plan your shots accordingly. You're gonna want your shots to be mostly on your strong side. Your weak side is not really a problem, as well as behind you. It's mainly just straight in front of the tree, because you can't really pivot around that way, or else you're just gonna swing around the tree. But anything that is roughly to 11 o'clock is easy. Anything back around to your strong side, super easy. Now, as you get around back behind you, you can actually just stand up on the platform and turn around. And since the tree's leaning away from you, I mean, you're secure. Everything's nice and tight. You're not going anywhere. Though I've shot several deer doing this out of a leaning tree. As you can see, I got that shot there, super easy. And what's nice about a leaning tree is I can lean back against it just like you would in a tree stand. Now, another thing about a leaning tree like this, it actually makes the weak side shot a little bit easier. So if you pivot your feet to the right, you can come over the bridge. And you got that shot to your, that's about 12:30, 1 o'clock. But it makes all those weak side shots pretty easy. But for the most part, if I'm gonna have a weak side shot, I'm just gonna stand up on the platform like this. And I've got my shot there. So as you can see, your shots are gonna be a little bit limited. And when you get into the certain situations, you're not gonna have that 360-degree shootability. It's just not possible in some situations. That's just how it goes. You know, not every hunt you're gonna have a setup that's absolutely perfect. But you know, with the saddle, you can get in a lot of different trees and still maintain that shootability that's really important. So there you have it, guys. That's saddle hunting from a leaning tree. It's really pretty simple. It just limits your shot selection just a little bit, but I think that you find if you stay on the top side of the tree and get your center of balance right, you will have no issues whatsoever. So I hope this helps you. Get out there and practice, and I hope you have an awesome hunting season.